Hey gang, Ronan here. As you can see in this game, I'm playing the Tier 10 Dutch destroyer Tromp. This is a hybrid destroyer that has AP shells, HE shells, 12-kilometer torpedoes, and airstrikes that can reach 10 kilometers in range. This is the second of 4 videos that I plan to show you about this ship. These go back a little ways. They're just some that I collected that I thought were particularly fun or interesting in some way. In this game, you'll see that while the lack of smoke can hamper you versus a CV, that's not always the case. If you watched the last video that I posted a few days ago on this ship, you're able to shoot down some aircraft, particularly if you're facing a Tier 8 CV, because in addition to the HE shells, AP shells, 12-kilometer torpedoes, and the range airstrike, you also have a speed boost and defensive fire AA. Now, that's not going to save you in every case. Certainly, if you've played this game any length of time, you know that AA is, well, we'll just say questionable at best. But you can dissuade particularly Tier 8 CV players from continuing to harass you by shooting down some aircraft, and that can give you a little bit of breathing room, especially on a map like this where you have some cover. Now, looking at the matchmaking, what are some particular threats? Well, right off the bat, you got 2 Woosters on the red team. That's a pretty significant threat. And in terms of the torpedo, the possible torpedo threats, gearing with usually 16.5 kilometer range torpedoes that hit really hard, Elbing with the AP shells that hit really hard. The torpedoes on the Elbing are very slow, which can catch people off guard. And then 2 Blowout. It's shaping up to be interesting from a matchmaking standpoint. Now, fortunately, there's no CV in this game, which makes things a little bit easier, but by no means easy, because while the ship has a respectable 5.9 kilometer detection radius, if you've spec'd for that, it's still no match in terms of detection for a submarine. So what am I doing here? Well, I don't want to sit in this gap, but I am going to put a few torpedoes in the water there, and I'm going to hope to be able to get some airstrikes out. Now, I'm hoping Alabama's going to stay lit for me long enough to be able to do that. You can see someone's firing some HE. Just guessing, but you know, so often if you don't have vision, it's really, really difficult, unless they're pressed up against an island, to land airstrikes. Now, this is something that I often do, not always, but often do when playing destroyers on this map, particularly on the south side. I like to position here. I'm just going to pause it for just a second. I'll explain why. This island blocks this gap a little bit. So unless somebody pushes to here or to here, you don't really have much of a torpedo threat here, at least not early, which leaves just this gap and this gap. Now, very often, if something comes from here, you're going to be able to outrun it to some degree because of the way you've got your ship angled. So that's why I stopped here. And I'm going to just kind of sit tight and hope that the red team intends to push. And you can see the Wooster out there is at 12 kilometers range, and our Petro takes out the other Wooster. So I don't really have much of a radar threat to contend with right now, and I'm hoping the Torpedoes is
enemy submarine spotted.
We'll see. No, looks like he's going to make it around that corner. So I am going to hope to get a fire or 2 started. And you can see I've pushed forward behind the island just a little bit more. That way, if there's a destroyer ahead of the Torpedoes, I'm a little bit more protected. And if Torpedoes continues to push through that gap, I might be able to get torpedoes on him as he comes around. If not, he's kind of stuck, and that's what you'll find a lot of times when you're playing a destroyer. If you sit back this way just a little bit, you can often catch battleships and cruisers that push in a little too far and find themselves unable to move forward and unable to move back, especially if you get an airstrike. you can be very effective. Now, it's too bad that the Alabama went dark, but that's okay. Hey, there he is. Let's see if I can get some fire started. He is reversing. And I'm wondering if the torpedoes are going to be able to catch the Tirpitz. Did he move forward? I have to be careful with Worcester. You can see he's pushed farther south, and he does look to be coming this way. A couple of fires there on the Alabama. I do not want to get radared. And it looks like I am going to catch the Tirpitz. He did decide to move forward. And I'll put these out there in the hope of catching either the Tirpitz or the Worcester. And it's time for me to move. I'm just trying to stay out of radar range of the Worcester, whose guns could just chew this ship to pieces. And I really put that airstrike out there for the Worcester more than the Tirpitz, but we'll see. Well, I am able to catch the Tirpitz and finish him off. And the fire still burning on Alabama. Or did he? No, he just stopped it. More torpedoes out there for Worcester. You can see our Blowout is kind of pushed up there. And he's trying to get some distance, I think, now from Worcester's radar. And I don't want to get any closer to the Worcester. I'm trying to bait him into following this direction, hoping he's not going to turn into the island. I want our Kansas to be able to get guns on him. And I do manage to catch the Blowout with a torpedo. That was very lucky. And Worcester wisely moves away from where my torpedo is traversing. Trying to get another fire there, and I do. So, you know, we're a little over 6 minutes in. I've got 91,000 damage, more or less. And this ship is very effective at kiting away. You've got torpedoes with nice angles, and you've got that airstrike. You don't even have to make use of the guns in a lot of cases. And in this game, I have yet to do so. Now, that doesn't mean I don't use the guns on this ship. Guns on this ship actually are pretty nice. But in a case like this, pushed by the red team, there's really no need to. Now, you can see Guden is telling me, hey, there's somebody that's there. And you can see that my radio location indicator just switched and is now pointing to, I know that there's a destroyer out ahead of me, and I'm going to continue to move that way to try to catch him as he is hoping, I believe, to support his Worcester. There he is. He's directly ahead of me. And you may be asking yourself, why didn't you do anything here, Ronan? Well, I'll tell you. Someone knocked on the door. That is the truth. That's why I'm just kind of sitting here and not doing anything, because I was answering the door. Now, fortunately for me, Gearing broke line of sight because Guden was chewing him up. Now, I just sat back down. How about that? You know, it doesn't always work out that way when you step away from the keyboard, but I'm able to not only catch the Gearing, but I'm going to be able to make use of his smoke a little bit, thank goodness, because I just about got myself sunk there. Alabama, he knows what's coming. And I'm going to hope I can get some more fires started there. Now, what to do here? I need to help with the Bravo cap, right? 3 fires. Yeah, I'll take it. And that is kind of the beauty of this ship. You can see he's put them out, but maybe I can land a torpedo, and in another 14 seconds I'll have another airstrike. And he is moving away, but he's going to have to angle to the curve first, right? He can't shove side to the curve first, and he has put himself in a terrible position. His team already had the cap. Why he felt the need to push in there is beyond me, but he did, and that's good for our team. You can see the Elbing takes out the Blowout, and this game's turned into a rout. I've managed to sink 3 ships, which is it all skill? No, it definitely wasn't. I caught one of their subs with a lucky torpedo strike, and having stepped away from the keyboard, kind of a miracle that my ship is even still in the game, honestly. But I think this game does highlight how effective this ship can be. If you find yourself on the flank where the red team is pushing. Now, if your team is the one pushing on the flank where you find yourself, this ship can still be very effective. You just don't want to be the only target that the red team can see. You can do kind of the same thing, but you can do it without making yourself a target. You don't have to make use of the guns. And this is a really great example of that, because until now I hadn't even used the guns. All right, 10 minutes in. See if I can help secure the Bravo cap, which was kind of the goal all along before I had to run and go answer the door. And I managed to finish off the Elbing with the torpedo, and that's kill number 4. Now, at this point, the game really is over. We still have 10 ships. The red team is down to 3. The Worcester's in big trouble. You can see we've got Prusen out there and Nishino, but you know, how much are they going to be able to do, really? Probably not a whole lot. Gudenlou's actually out ahead of me. Des Moines is still on the south end of the map. Borgonia, well, he's way down there. But at this point, it really is just mopping up and basically damage farming. And I have to admit, I was hungrily hoping to pick up a Kraken, but just wasn't in the cards. Still, all in all, I think a good example of kind of what this ship can do, what it's all about, as our good finishes off the Worcester. And, you know, we lose our Kurfürst to the Prussian, but we've got 669 points, red team 309, and this game really is all over but the shouting. So really not a whole lot more to say here. Again, to me, the effectiveness of this ship is not necessarily the guns, although against a very low HP target or other destroyers, the guns can be pretty effective. I mean, they're really not bad guns. I like the arcs. They hit reasonably hard. But I think the strength is the combination of torpedoes and airstrikes. Thank you very much for joining me. I really do appreciate it. I hope you enjoyed this or learned something, or just got something out of it while you spent a few minutes here with me. I'm going to go ahead and sign off now, and we can just let this thing run down, because from here on out, there's not a whole lot of exciting that happens. Thanks again, and I'll see you next time.
Двигатель в штатном режиме.